Given the callous nature in which this current administration has begun snatching people off the streets, sometimes seemingly at random, the increasingly violent crackdowns in response to any opposition, and the increased danger that puts us all in, I find myself conflicted about what needs to be done next. I spent a few hours recently joining in ongoing ICE rapid response efforts. The goals are very simple: to respond to any reported sightings of ICE or federal law enforcement, to document any ICE activity, to make sure anybody being detained is aware of their rights, if at all possible, and to provide information to the community and any family members of those detained as to what their rights are and what they might be able to do next. Now, in the short time I was out there were several alerts. Some seemed to be false alarms, but for others we confirmed that people were taken away from their families. But the whole thing felt like trying to shovel water out of a sinking ship. There was far too much for any group of people to deal with all at once. And I do think that's part of the strategy, to overload us with fear, to make it feel like sitting back and complying will be easier than trying to fight it. And if I'm starting to feel that way, I can only imagine how my black and brown brothers and sisters are feeling right now. If we give in to that fear, we lose. I know that, but continuing to fight can feel difficult. Now, obviously, we can't just address the symptoms. We have to get as close as we can to the underlying problem. And that means we have to, at minimum, kick ICE the fuck out of our state and hope that like-minded people in every other state will do the same. Now, if we were dealing with a law-abiding federal administration that had a semi-reasonable immigration policy, there might be room for a conversation about the role ICE should play. But that's not what we have. That's not who Donald Trump is. Federal law enforcement is not acting as a tool of the public good, and neither is the military. They're being used as tools of repression, of racism, of xenophobia, of fascism. Donald Trump has successfully created his own Gestapo, his own secret police. We must put a stop to it. Then I look at videos of what is happening to protesters outside of the ICE detention center in Broadview. Now, I've seen no reports of rioting, no reports of property damage, no reports of serious injuries to ICE agents. The worst I've seen it reported that anyone has done is try to stand in front of vehicles. And yet, day after day after day, ICE responds with physical violence, with tear gas, with pepper spray, with rubber bullets. And Donald Trump, Pam Bondi, Pete Hegseth, Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, Stephen Miller, and Kristi Noem have all promised that even worse is coming. The violence is only going to increase. And we're already seeing it. They've also suggested that even attending a protest at all could result in federal charges, potentially even terrorism charges. Now, if this doesn't qualify as fascism, then nothing does. And I don't know where that leaves us. I know that people like Donald Trump want us to be afraid to challenge him. They want us to believe that their choices are either violence or fear and silence. But it is also crystal clear that Donald Trump's administration is not afraid to do violence against us. Now, we all have a lot of people we care about, and I'm certainly no different. I have a lot of people who I know share my values, who are not currently in the line of fire from this administration, who, if invited to stand against fascism, would gladly do so. But inviting them to come with me right now means inviting them to put themselves in danger, and honestly, I'm afraid of doing that to somebody I care about. If I thought I could do something myself, I would, but no real political victories are won alone. Going to the Broadview ICE facility alone would accomplish nothing. Joining people who are already putting their bodies on the line and providing what little I can in the way of supplies and adding an extra body would accomplish more, but would it be enough to make a difference? I don't know. At this point, there are only two things I can say I know for certain. I know that joining a protest that directly confronts this administration is likely to put you in danger. But I also know that we cannot, for even a single second, let this rising fascism go unchallenged.